Okay, so we're looking at the four corners. And the reason Mr. Passwater likes this four corners format is, on the AP exam, you have to be able to look at data analytically, numerically, graphically, and verbally, okay? So, in other words, you have to look at it from an equation standpoint, from a data table standpoint, from a graph standpoint, and from a word problem standpoint. Those are the different kinds of questions you're gonna have to be expected to do on the exam. So it's having you practice. So he says, I've got an equation. Personally, I don't like my equation written in that order. I like them written in this order, but it doesn't make any difference. Would you agree that's the same equation? I just like to turn around because I'm used to having my vertical shift on the end. It's a personal problem. Okay? Now, what is the maximum value? So in other words, if you graphed that thing, which you can always do, or can you figure out what the maximum value would be? Would you say?
7.
Why did he say 7? Because the midline is at 4, and the amplitude is 3. So we're gonna go up 3 and down 3. So the maximum value is 7. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
That was easy. All right, now let's look at the data table. We got a bunch of values. We're not going to use our calculators. We're going to figure this out.
Chat, if you're watching this YouTube video, comment down below if you know the button where you like press it and it's like, that was easy.
All right, so and this is a cosine equation. Okay. And your job is to find all the missing values in the table. So we got a cosine equation. We know some of the values.
Period.
All right. You got some thoughts?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Find the period.
Jamie?
The period is pi.
Stop right there. Period's pi. Why is the period pi? Because the period's supposed to be 2 pi, but it's been divided by 2, so the period is pi. What does that mean? Every pi, it repeats. So at 0, it's 4. What is it at pi? 4? Would you agree with that? Okay.
Dude, I'm going on a limb right here.
We've been lifted up 4. Our amplitude
That was
is.
the other problem. That was the other problem.
Oh.
That's the wrong.
We're trying to find
Oh,
we're trying to
yeah,
find
I'm
it.
sorry. No, you're right, you're right. I'm mixing up my problems. All right, well, what else do I know? I know something else. Maybe I don't. I know 3 pi over 4 is 1.
Yeah.
Now think about that for a minute. Think about what a cosine looks like. Wouldn't a cosine do something like this? Okay, and these 2 points, wouldn't they have to be on the midline? Think about now, let me just draw a regular cosine. So we'll call that pi. Here's pi over 2. Aren't these two the middle of this this and the middle of this, aren't those on your axis, aren't those midline points? So that point is on the midline, isn't this one? And this curve is doing something like that. So my job was to find what happens at pi over 2. Well, where is that midline? That midline is at 1. That point is at 1. Which means my amplitude is 3. So I went up 3. Aren't I going to go down 3 to get this one? So that would be negative 2. And then what about 3 pi over 2 now? Remember, your period is pi. So aren't these going to be the same? Aren't they pi apart? So you know, that's why we're practicing. Right, is that settled in? You have to be able to do this on your own. We got it? Do you understand all my thinking on that? Okay, graphically, a portion of the graph is shown above. This is a sine curve. Find the value. So it's a sine curve. Well, you can tell hopefully from the picture, where's your midline? -1, which means D is -1. Can you tell from the picture what your amplitude is? 2. So A will be -2. Yes, yes, yes. Whoever said -2, you are the winner. Why is it negative?
Because it goes down.
It goes down. Now, the amplitude is 2. But the coefficient A has to be -2 because it's a negative sine curve.
We
How
got it down to
come there's no like number here? Why isn't there any number right there, any coefficient there? Because the period's too high. Look on the paper. And isn't that what the period's supposed to be? So we didn't do anything to change that. Why is there nothing added to the x? Why is there no c number in there? Because it's starting at 0, which is where it's supposed to start. Let k of x be a sine function with a period pi, amplitude 3, midline right equal -1, no other transformations, write an equation. Okay? Alright, if the period is pi, which number, A, B, C, or D, does that matter with? The period's pi. B. If the period's pi, then B is going to have to be 2. 2 pi divided by 2. The midline is -1. Alright? We have A, C, and D left. Which one is influenced by midline? D. -1.
Oh, sure.
And then amplitude of 3. And the A. And no other transformations, which means none of that. So there we go. How's that look? That is great. Okay. Now, what I want you to do now is get out your 3/6 homework.
How do we know when to well, like on this one. How do you know the verbal one? How do you know if it's gonna be like a negative sign?
I understand like how to do it now, but at the time,
Like, oh, there would be like.
Alright, look at your 3/6 homework. Now, let me say something before we get started. First of all, when we are writing equations of trigonometric functions, because they're periodic, can there be more than one answer? Yes, okay? So, I may have marked something wrong on your paper that is actually right. I did not go back through all of the possibilities to check. But some of your stuff is just plain crazy. I want everybody to look, this is the 3-6 homework, I want to look at problem number 10. I'm very proud of you because
Same.
not many people did.
I got it right. I got only one I got right.
Those of you who put down sine theta is negative 12. All right, let's just stop for a second. First of all, I'm very happy that you associated sine with y. That is good. But in the beginning of your life, you learned SOHCAHTOA, and you learned that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, right? Remember that? If you tell me that the sine is 12, that means something like 12 over 1. Is that possible? Can the opposite side be 12 and the hypotenuse be 1?
No.
No. What are you forgetting? That cosine and sine are x and y only in the unit circle. Is this a unit circle?
No.
No, it has a radius of 13. Pythagorean theorem. What is cosine? X over r. So cosine is negative 5 over 13. Sine is negative 12 over 13. Now, y'all got tangent right because tangent everywhere is y over x. The size of the circle doesn't matter with tangent because tangent doesn't have an r. Tangent is just y and x. Sine and cosine have an r. If you have an r, you gotta think about the r. Okay? That's the kind of stuff that makes this hair go even grayer than it already is. Guys, think about it. Think about graphing a sine. What is the highest a sine goes? 1. Unless you do what? Put a multiplier in front of it, right? But a regular sine, this says what's the sine, is never gonna be bigger than 1. Never. Never gonna be less than negative 1. So don't ever do that again. All right? Now, let's do one problem from here. I don't care which one. We missed so much on all of them. I don't even care. Just pick one. Which one? 6.
Yeah, this one, is that right?
All right,
Yeah,
let's look at 6.
Okay, it's like the one I got right.
Well, we'll let you pick another one. We missed.
Not to brag, but I only missed 8 on the backside.
Oh, I missed one.
Huh, missed 7.
I actually missed
I'm
one.
totally
Not to
too.
brag, I missed 8 on the back. And 1, 2,
3,
3, 4, 5, 6 on the front.
5.
That is not good.
Only missed 5 on the
I
front.
don't mean to sweat,
Nine.
but
I got 9 all of them.
Oh, that's consistency.
You got all the way wrong.
So like maybe 8?
All right, so here's what's happening. I have a sine curve.
That's so rude.
I have a maximum at negative pi over 10, 8. And I have the next minimum at pi over 2, negative 1. Okay? So whatever I've got, I got that. Right, that's a minimum. All right, be okay with that? Now, how far is it from negative 1/10 to pi over 2? This is pi over 2 here, which would be 5/10. So how far is it from negative 1/10 to 5/10? 6/10. But max to min is half a period, so my period is actually 6/5. 2 of those? Is that right? So, as I'm writing my equation, there's my period number. So 2 pi divided by that number has to give me 6/5 pi. 6 pi over 5. Okay, so what does that number have to be? Now let's see, 6 pi b equals 10 pi. So it looks like b is 10 pi over 6 pi, which is 5/3. So this number is 5/3. Now, if the max is at 8 and the min is at -1, where's my midline? Halfway in between is going to be the average. So what would that be? Wait, add them and divide by 2. 8 plus -1 is 7. And half of 7 is 3.5, 7/2. So my midline is at 3.5. The midline is the average of the numbers. It's the middle number. So that's going to be 3.5.
Good question.
A, B for 6.
You okay?
Pretty much.
Now, once I know my midline, I can find my amplitude, right? What's my amplitude gonna be?
4.5.
4.5. And now I just have to figure out, they tell me it's gotta be a sine. What I have drawn here would be a lovely cosine. But I'm not doing that, I'm doing a sine. So a sine, here's the midline. I didn't draw it very accurately there, but won't that be where the sine starts? And regardless of how my picture looks, that is the middle of -1/10 and 5/10. So -1 and 5 is 4, and half of 4 is 2 pi over 10? Or 1 pi over 5, does that make sense to you? So if I start my curve at positive pi over 5, then in my equation, I have to put negative pi over 5. The way he set up the equation is x plus c, and that's fine. I just need it to be a negative pi over 5 because I'm going right. So c is negative pi over 5. What I'm doing right here. Furthermore, if I'm starting here and drawing a sine curve, then that 4.5 would have to be negative. Now, if you are confident that you started it somewhere else and you got everything right, okay. But make sure that makes sense to you, because that's the way you're thinking about the problem. Okay, Lauren, you figure out what you did? All right. Tomorrow, you're gonna watch the video.
Bye guys, hope you had a good time.